CRM Audio presents Captain Redlace's Power BI Corner with Business Solutions MVP Scott Sewell.
This episode of Captain Redlace's Power BI Corner is brought to you by our friends at KingswaySoft. KingswaySoft is a leading integration solution provider offering software solutions that make data integration affordable and painlessly easy. Thousands of enterprise clients from over 65 countries and regions rely on KingswaySoft to integrate data with various application systems in order to drive their business efficiency and fully leverage their information assets. KingswaySoft is a leading provider of Microsoft Dynamics integration software, including Dynamics 365, CRM, AX, NAV, GP, SL, as well as many other applications such as Marketo, Dropbox, QuickBooks, and Salesforce. Whether you need one solution or several, KingswaySoft works easily within the SSIS platform to make your integration process as quick and easy as possible. Many of their clients have seen 3 to 10 times greater data integration performance after switching to the SSIS integration toolkit. We thank KingswaySoft for their support of Captain Redlace's Power BI Corner.
So Scott, do you have any conferences coming up?
Actually, I do.
Tell me about it.
We're looking forward to the Microsoft Data Insights Summit, June 12th and 13th. I'm headed to Seattle, and I've got some meetings with the product team, and also going to the Data Insights Summit that's being held basically downtown Seattle. That's going to be a pretty important thing to keep your eye on if you're interested in Power BI and the surrounding technologies around it. In fact, normally we get a desktop drop at the end of the month, and I haven't seen one yet. My assumption is that they're kind of holding that back until the 12th and 13th, just so they can use that time as a big splash. I was at the summit last year, sold out in record time. It sold out again in record time. So, but I think they pretty much doubled the size of the conference, but it's still sold out. Big event. The team will be there, and kind of going through all the things that are going on in the whole space in Power BI, plus the Cortana intelligence and the analytics pieces that are in place. But I think you'll see some big splash numbers or announcements around Power BI in the next week. If you didn't sign up, or you just don't want to get on an airplane, you can go to the Power BI page, and you can see a reference to the Microsoft Data Insights Summit, and you can click and watch live. So you can sit at home, pants not required. You can watch the Data Insights Summit from wherever and view the announcements. And I got to tell you, some of the presentations I saw last year really opened my eyes to pieces of the application I hadn't seen before. So it's a great event to be a part of, whether you're in person or you're viewing it virtually, and they'll also be recorded, and you can catch those on YouTube afterwards. But some terrific speakers I'm looking forward to hearing again, and so it's an exciting time.
So you were saying that there currently is, you've been kind of waiting for a new drop of the desktop app. Does that mean there's certain functionality that's in Power BI that's not yet surfaced in the current desktop app?
Right. It's usually each month they add new features, maybe some new visualization tools, some new connector tools, enhancements to share. Like last month they added the app, the ability to create what they call apps, which is sort of the successor to content packs. And so each month they've been adding something to it. And like I said, at the end of May, they haven't released anything for the desktop. They have released a new mobile client, but on the desktop, I think they're just holding that back so they can use that as the Data Insight Summit as a time to make a big splash and announce some great new feature that I don't know about. I wish I knew about it, but if I knew about it, I would probably be under NDA and couldn't say anything about it. But I don't know.
So what are some of the sessions that you look to take in, or some of the speakers maybe you're hoping to hear from?
Yeah, good question. Marco Russo is a terrific teacher of DAX, the query language, and I went to their session last year, and I got to admit, last year a lot of their session went right over my head, but I went back and watched the exact same session again on YouTube 6 months ago, and caught a lot of things and understood a lot of things that I didn't understand the first time. Their sessions continually sell out, or their sessions are full, and so you can't get a seat in there if you're not already in there. Will Thompson does a fantastic job on his presentations. He's got a really nice teaching style that talks about how to build really interactive report, very visually stunning reports. I don't know if Charles Sterling is presenting anything, but if you catch him, he's very fun to watch. He's pretty laid back and kind of smart alecky, but in a fun way. So if I see him on the calendar, I'll catch him. But I've actually already booked all my sessions. I just don't remember my login, so I have to figure that out. But figure that out before I get on a plane. So that's exciting. Now I did mention that they've already released the mobile client. And Joel, you and I have been talking. I was showing you some pieces of the mobile client the other day, but I thought some things got snuck in on it over the last 6 months. I guess I wasn't really paying attention to the mobile client, and some pieces got snuck in there, and I'm like, actually Jack Bender and I were talking. He goes, "Have you tried this?" And he did something on it. I was like, "Wow, that's awesome!" And I'd just forgotten that. I mean, I saw it, and I just hadn't paid attention to it. But I thought it would be worth chatting for a minute and talk about some of the features that are available in the mobile client that maybe you have seen, but you just haven't focused on or haven't taken advantage of, or maybe you just didn't realize that they'd been added. So the first one I think is the one that I've used pretty heavily is that annotate and share. And if you open up and I'll refer to it, I'm going to look at I've got an iPhone, so I've got it on there, and I'll just kind of refer to it from that perspective. But the Android device, it looks very much the same on that. So if I open up and I'm looking at a report or a tile, and if you'll notice up in the upper right hand corner, there's a little, it looks like a pen with a scribble on it. And that little if I open that and I click on the pen with a little scribble behind it, I can annotate a tile that's in Power BI on my phone. So for instance, if I have a chart that's showing a sharply increasing number of open cases, if I'm a service organization, or I've got a number associated with a particular product line that I'm watching, or I have questions about,
okay,
I can annotate, I can pull that up, annotate it by like drawing some squiggly lines on it. You can put a happy face on it. You can change the colors if you get excited about it. There's even text you can type over it. Ultimately, what I'm doing is putting some comments on it to highlight it and say this is important. And then you hit the share. It's not icon, it's just the word share at the upper right-hand corner. You click share, and you can fire that off as a SMS message or iMessage or whatever to somebody else who receives it. They open it up on their phone. There's a hyperlink to the report underneath it, as well as any comments you've added to it. So they see it and say, "Hey Joel, I'm interested. I'm wondering why the number of cases we have open has increased this week. Is something going on?" I highlight that information, fire it off to you. You look at that and go, "Okay, yeah, I see that information. Let me drill in, open the report associated with it. I'll get I'll look further into CRM and figure out what's going on, and I can send that back to you can send it back to me and say, yeah, it's just an anomaly. They've decreased since then."
When you share it, you annotate it, you're drawing on it, and you're sharing it with it. Is it sending a link to the Power BI dashboard, or is it sending a picture of it?
Both. It sends that picture of the graph that you saw plus your little your scribbles on top of it, and then it also includes a link to the dashboard associated with it. So it's a both and.
Okay. So that's cool. So it's doing what I probably could ultimately do if I did a screenshot and then drew on it, but it's putting in one easy step.
It is. It's really nice the way they've done it. And you can, like I said, you can put. Let me see. I'm gonna send this one to you, Joel. We'll just do this real time. send it off to you. You've got the link to you see the tile that I'm interested in. I've got a question about. I've fired it off. It becomes a message to you, and you have a link to the report underneath it that relates to that data. So
nice. I just opened it.
Yeah. Oh, good. So you got it, and we're on opposite ends of the country at the moment, but we're collaborating in real time. That's a digital transformation.
No, we're not. So, you're destroying the magic of podcasting. We're sitting right next to each other in the same room.
That's right. Oh, I forgot. I was supposed to say that. So that's the annotation and share.
What else is new with mobile?
Other things that are new in mobile are, I'm not going to say it's new because it's been there. It was just new to me, is this idea of an alert. So an alert is, what I think a friend of mine used to say, be alert because the world needs more alerts. But if the alert piece, if I click on a tile and, like, for instance, in my infamous Titanic, I've got the number of people who perished tile, and this tile says how many people perished on the Titanic, and just that's a static number in my case. But if I open that, and then down at the bottom of the screen, I have what's supposed to look like a little bell, but it kind of looks like one of those minions from the Despicable Me or a Pac-Man, either one. That little bell at the bottom of the screen asks, do you want to set up an alert for souls aboard? When I click on that, I get the chance to say, here's a I want to set a threshold. The condition can be either above or below. And then I put in a manual threshold of, like, in this case, if suddenly there's a new Titanic passenger that's been found, send me an alert. But reality, you could have, if there are more than 100 open cases right now, or if the total value of our opportunity pipeline goes above $10 million, send me an alert, and it will fire it off, and you get to tell it, I want to see that alert at most every 24 hours, or at least alert me every hour on the hour that this number is exceeded. So if I set a high number of threshold of, if I have 300 cases in the pipeline, notify me every hour that I've exceeded that threshold. And you also get the chance of setting it and saying I want an email notification as well, just in case you're not on the phone itself. So that ability to set an alert on your phone, and I'm pointing at my phone while I'm talking, but hopefully that's
right. That's very helpful.
Right.
I'm audio medium.
Yeah, I'm nodding. Yeah, so you're not in agreement with me. So setting that alert on your phone is really nice. In that, again, it's that idea that the CRM data is there. There are some metrics that are important to the management of the team that owns CRM that say, when something happens, let me know. I want to know when a threshold has been exceeded, some kind of KPI has been crossed. Let me know. And that's not something you have to program back into the system. You can do it. That person can do it on their own phone and be all the wiser about what's going on inside of CRM or inside of whatever system Power BI is reporting against. So those are the alerts. And again, it's if you open a tile, look at the bottom of the screen. There's what looks like a little Pac-Man or a bell or whatever you see. Minion at the bottom of the screen. That's what that alert is, and you can set that threshold, which is really cool.
That's cool. So I've always struggled with that in the CRM context of people want to be notified for threshold-based stuff, but if you have something that is continually out of that threshold, is it really going to keep pinging you if you like, let me know when we have no time left on our service contract and we're in the hole till the first of the month? We're not going to. Do you keep getting a notification on that, or can we say notify me once, or
right.
You get notified and then if it changes, notify me again, that kind of thing?
The two choices right now are notify me no more than once an hour, or notify me no more than once a day. As long as that number has exceeded whatever alert you set, you can have it firing either every hour or every day.
Is that a per alert setting, or is that an overall?
Yes, per alert.
Okay,
per alert.
Good.
And you can have multiple alerts. Like I said, you might have 2 alerts on a number and say, here's a low threshold. And if it's over 100, notify me once a day. But if it goes suddenly spikes and it's 200, notify me every hour that we're out of compliance on this number.
Okay, so what does that look like in, if we're using this to manage our nuclear power plant and we want to know when our numbers get out of range or something? And of course, our data for the nuclear power plant comes from CRM. Okay, of course. So let's say, what is the delay if your data is coming from CRM to Power BI? Your data sync to notification delay ratio.
Mm-hmm. I haven't tried to put an exact timing on the whole thing, but it's going to be roughly a once an hour refresh from in CRM to when Power BI goes back in cycles and says, CRM, give me the latest data. You're probably on a 1 hour sync in that case, and you can do a smaller sync once a day if you're using sort of the free version of things. But in a paid version, you can set it up, I think, maximum once an hour to rebuild the Power BI piece. And then so there'll be that piece that does it, and then there'll be somewhat of a delay when Power BI pings the server, because you don't want, obviously your battery's going to go dead if your Power BI app on your phone is hitting the server every 5 seconds, right? So there's a background refresh that pings it. So yes, there will be a delay. It's a reasonable sort of thing. If it's nuclear power and Homer Simpson's dropping the fuel rod, and you need alerts sooner, you probably want to tackle it with maybe some more real-time type of work.
But what I like about this, as well as things like the notification options that Flow gives us now, is end users now have the power to control when they get notified about stuff in a big way that they didn't used to. So if I have a dashboard for somebody, they can choose when they get notified about something, or they can, using Flow, they can set up a flow for different conditions and different systems. And I believe there's Power BI hooks into Flow as well. So
there are. Yeah. I would say it's probably this one is like simple enough for an executive manager to do it. Like an EVP can tackle it on the phone. Flow might take a little bit more effort. Might be more of a superpower user. So there's kind of different levels of degrees of difficulty, but the one on the phone is crazy easy to set up. So it's been surprising how useful that is. I thought I'd also talk about, as you look at your phone, one of the tools that I've gotten excited about building out some dashboards, and I built the dashboards, and that was all great. That was really a nice, fun to do. But when you pull it up in your phone, even though I've got the 6 Plus, it's still kind of, my fingers are not as nimble as, when I try to zoom in, it's probably the report that I built was really designed for a laptop or a tablet,
or an iPad or an iPad Pro at least.
Right. So when I get to that level, one of the things you can do in the desktop application, this was added, it was a few months ago, but inside the desktop application, if you're working on a report, before you finish publishing it, or before you're done, go up in the upper menu bar where it says View, click on View, and then choose Phone View, the phone layout. And it's going to show you what that looks like in the phone, and you probably want to rearrange some tiles so that when it's viewed on the phone, it's really more optimized for a phone. Now, you can still publish a report and consume it directly on the phone, but the form factor is so much different. This is a nice thing to remember to do, is to go look at it on this, organize your tiles conceptually so you know what it's going to look like on a phone, as opposed to, it's the idea of you can design it once, publish it once, and consume it everywhere. But in reality, the consume everywhere is a little bit of a compromise when you get to a phone sort of a form factor. And this going through the desktop application, and like I said, if I go to the View tab, click on that, then I can see exactly what my layout would look like. And like I said, there's a phone layout view, and you click on that, and it shows you, kind of that vertical rectangle. You can click and drag your visualizations over onto it. You can even get rid of some visualizations that might be too, the text would be too tiny on a phone. So you can pull those off if you don't think they're appropriate. But and then at the end of the day, you click back on desktop view, and you're back in your layout. So again, it's kind of like provides two layouts within the same report. One optimized for your desktop, for the tablet or for the web, whatever, and then the other one would be optimized for that smaller form factor on your phone. So that's important to
that is a good topic, because when you're trying to satisfy both mobile audiences and people with large 27 plus inch monitors, sometimes it's a challenge, because you're right, the things that look good and have the detail people want when they look at the screen and the monitor is not there even for a large phone. And so right. What do you find in the real world people do? Do they typically just turn the things off in the mobile view that don't work, or are people sometimes creating a mobile version of the dashboard for their phone that have maybe a more phone friendly version? Can I have something that, or in other words, can I have in the mobile view, can I have something that appears, if I have a simplified version of a chart that's in the full version, mm-hmm. Can I have a different version show there that doesn't show when I'm on the desktop?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know that you get the option of being able to have different versions at the individual object, like I've got a pie chart on the desktop view, and when I show that on my phone, I want it to be grouped in this category, but when I show it on the desktop, I want it grouped on this category. So something that where the actual tile itself gets changed between the desktop and the phone view. I don't know that you have that. You don't really have that capability. However, picking and choosing which tiles you want to show, also the sequence of the tiles, the order, making sure that the most important ones are the ones at the top of the screen so that the person who uses it doesn't have to scroll down. Resizing it, because some of the tiles you are fine, very small. Like if it's a card, a data card where there's just a number, it might be fine to have that fairly small because you're just looking at a single, numeric value. And maybe a pie chart could be a little bit bigger than that and still be readable and visible and help communicate, but something that actually has lists of some actual data, or maybe a bigger pie chart. Like for instance, I had one that it was a bar graph, and it only had 3 categories in it, and those 3 categories, I could shrink that bar graph fairly small, and it would still communicate on the phone. Another one had 8 categories in it. When he shrunk it that small, you just couldn't read it. It was too tiny. So I made that one larger on the phone, whereas on the desktop they were the same size. So there's some play there you can do to make sure that the tool can communicate, and then ultimately that's what you're looking for. If you're not resizing and cleaning up and being aware of what it's going to look like for your mobile user, you're really kind of cutting out the legs of the project, of some of the good work that you're doing. You really want those people to be able to consume it, and paying attention to that is so critical.
Right. Well, I'll give you an example. You shared with me the dashboard that had your fancy pants Sanddance animation on it.
Right.
And that just blew me away when I looked at it on either in the browser or in PC. But the mobile version of Sanddance isn't quite as awe-inspiring.
No, that's right.
And so I might say, you know what? I'm not gonna ooh and ah with Sanddance on the phone, so maybe I want a different visualization that maybe is more understandable from a phone context.
Yeah, so in that case, like you said, that Sanddance was on one page, and there were some other reports that were on a different page, and you can pull over only the ones you want to show on the mobile client. And even still, with a phone, you're looking at the phone optimized version. You can still click on a button, say, show me the desktop version of this. If there's not enough detail, if you really have to have that more complicated, the more complex view there, you can open it up and see it in context. Like, for instance, on the desktop version, I've got slicers that are showing different slices of the data. But on the mobile, I don't put the slicers on the page because it's not enough room to, and it's, people's fingers are too big to click on those little buttons. So I just give them the high level numbers, and if they want to get the detail, they can click through and then, zoom in with their pinch and zoom on the desktop.
Right. Okay. So yeah, that is a really good tip. So make sure when you're configuring your dashboards that you click the mobile view, even if you don't think people are going to use it on mobile. The worst thing is somebody shares something with you, you try and pull it up, it's unusable.
Yeah. So 2 other real quick features that I wanted to point out that got slipped in there that I wasn't aware of. One of which I really wish I'd had when I was in front of one of your customers back in January. The first one is the Q&A with Cortana. It's a cool feature that lets you, it's in English right now. You can type in, ask questions of your data, and in a natural language sort of format, and the Cortana will interpret that information and respond with answers from the data set you're working on. So if I said, how many day sales outstanding currently, or how many day sales outstanding for Eastern Division, I can ask those kind of questions, and Cortana will pull that information back out and display it. So it's I don't know, maybe in some ways it kind of feels a little bit like a party trick at the moment, but I can see how valuable that can start becoming the better you optimize you play with it and try it. Make sure you name fields in a way that work well with that. But that's a cool feature that's added on the phone. And of course on the phone, since it's got voice to text, you can click the little microphone by it and just speak it. You can just say it. And between Siri and Cortana, they get together and work out their differences, and they type the text in, and Cortana will answer your question. So that's pretty cool. The other piece that I wanted to point out, and this is the one I wish I had figured out when I was in front of your customer. So the customer we're working with has store locations all over the country, lots of places, and they have managers who go out in front of those stores and interact with, they're going to look at the store, have questions about what's going on inside the store. But of course, they've got, each of these stores has there's a physical location. The phone version of these dashboards has a geolocation filter. So if your data is coded to where it has lat long, it can use the geolocation of your phone to filter the data that's being displayed. So if I get out of the car and I'm driving through the middle of Ohio, I see a store that I'm going to make a site visit to and have some interactions on it. As soon as I get out of the car, pull up my phone, that dashboard has been filtered to the store that I'm standing in front of. That thing rocks. That is awesome. And I desperately wish I had known about that when I was in front of your customer in January. That's really cool. So that has all kinds of uses for especially people who are on the road or people who travel different locations. Or, how precise does it get? I mean, can we have somebody that has, a big plant or something see a dashboard for a piece of equipment based on where they are? Well, inside a plant, you can not necessarily geocode, but you can put a QR code on as a sticker on a piece of equipment, and with the cameras, the phone's camera, you can point at that QR code, and the results can come up augmented reality within the phone to show graphs about what's going on with that particular object once it's scanned, and that QR code can be the signal back to Power BI what you're filtering against. I mean, it's crazy, man. It's awesome. So that's been a fun thing to see. In the last update, they've added added some nice things around. This universal URI. This is only available for the iOS apps, but if I'm opening up a Power BI report in the web, and I'm in the office and I'm working on something, I pull up a Power BI report and I'm interested in some information, and you and I are on the phone, you're on the road, you're out in the car, I can grab the URL from the web version of this report, just click on it, highlight it, open up an email, hit send, and send it to you. When you get the email, you click on that URL. Instead of opening the web version of that report, it will open up the version of the report that's in the Power BI app on your iPhone. So it's a universal URL that says, instead of opening up Safari to show me that report, open up the Power BI app, and whether you're on your phone or on your tablet, on your iPad, it's going to show you that version of the report. And of course, you have then you're right in that nice. It's a cleaner render, and it's optimized for your phone. And when you click on it, you can do the share, and you can set alerts, etc., like that. So that's a nice enhancement. Now that is only iOS that works with, but they added that. So if your team primarily uses Android, then they're going to get the URL and it's going to open up in Chrome or whatever is on their phone.
But that doesn't right now, except in iOS, it doesn't give you the option to open the app. It just always opens on the.
Well, it defaults to it, but you can. Yeah.
Okay.
But that's pretty cool.
Well, that's cool stuff.
Other two things is just some sharing. They give visibility into the new apps, which replace the content packs, and also sharing, so that now that people are starting to use it, and you start getting a lot of references in your Power BI lists. A lot of people are sharing dashboards with you. You can now it now filters it and says it kind of groups everything into a folder called shared with me. So all those things that have been shared with you kind of get added to a folder, as opposed to your list of dashboards becoming eternal. So it's a little bit of cleanup that they've done there, which is a good response, because that's, if the sign that it's actually being used is the fact that you're getting too much noise, or too many reports being added to your phone, that's a good sign that you're getting some adoption traction in the organization. So that's been added. That's been nice.
Right. Yeah, that's it's interesting. I had a trip recently where I forgot to bring my laptop with me, and so I had to do things, including look at reports and things like that, just for my phone. And when you do that or go through the exercise, it was instructional to me, just understanding where the current gaps are with what works on your phone and what doesn't. And what I've found is, surprisingly, you can get more done than you might think you can with just your phone, but you'll still run into those little things. So anything like that will be helpful for reaching that utopia that someday we will have, where we can do everything without needing a computer.
Next version. It's all the next version. Anyway.
All right. Well, make sure you update us. Make sure you update us about the summit after next week, and hopefully you'll have more goodies to share with our listeners after that.
That's what I'm hoping for. And if anybody's coming to the Data Insight Summit, ping me, IM me, let me know, and I'll look forward to meeting up with you at the Insight Summit.